Galactic birds, beings of light, extraterrestrial creatures. Welcome to Hidden in Plain Sight. If you're returning, I welcome you back. And if you're new, this is a safe space. Let's jump straight into it. What you're going to see in this video are supernatural beings of all sorts, from gnomes to cryptids to celestials to different types of spirits. A celestial is a spirit, but is a different kind of spirit. But now, some will be obvious, and some you may need to be a little bit more aware to see to understand what you're looking at. I do have some video at the end, towards the end of this video, but you guys, we're looking straight at them. And then if you look off to the left and the right in the darker shades area of the trees, you can see them over there as well. I recently had a dream, though. I wanted to share, if you guys don't mind. I'm sure some of you don't. You know, this dream opened my eyes. It's that thing where you think your eyes can't open any wider, check them out. Oh my goodness. Now you can't tell me they ain't popping. Oh, they sticking out. They sticking out. And if you take your time, now you shouldn't have to pause the video. I did, make it a little bit longer this time. We're looking at about a little bit over an hour. And it's several different shots. These are screenshots from a video, by the way. So it's just amazing. You guys, it's truly incredible. Some of you that are new may be asking yourself, okay, these are supernatural beings, but why? Like, why are they there? What happened? Like, what is this? This is a spiritual manifestation. It is spiritual energy that has manifested spiritual beings, supernatural entities. This is in my energy field. Look at that big one sitting sideways. He's huge. There's been so many over the past 6 years that I've been, able to see. My entire life consists of me being clairvoyant, clairaudient, highly, extremely empathic, seer, a healer, a filler, the whole shebang. And I was thrown into, and I'm going to use the word thrown, even though they say you pick your destiny, your family, your earthly family. I was thrown into this chaotic frequency. Just this energy was so dysfunctional. And a prophet is never welcome in their hometown. Not a true prophet. And I wasn't welcomed. And I carried the burden of my family, I went through a lot. I absorbed a lot. And I looked around and everybody was like leaving, checking out. And then I was left to just try to piece what I had left. But I was shattered. I was shattered and I was scattered. And I had finally reached rock bottom. Now I had, fell apart many times, lost everything. If I had to pick a story out of the Bible that resonated with me, more than any other story. I feel like there's only one that I can even identify with, and that's the book of Job. I lost everything. I lost my children. I lost my sanctuary, what we call home. I lost everything. I never had a foundation that was stripped from me at a very young age when I was introduced to religion. If you're starting to feel uncomfortable, you might want to leave now. If I see any disrespect in the comments, you will be blocked. And depending on the severity, I will report you. So you have an option to stay at this point. No one's holding your hand, no one's forcing you. I'm just sharing my journey. That's it. It's free will. This is for entertainment purposes only. And if it inspires you, then let it. If it makes you feel anything less than inspiration, I would say leave. Because it's going to challenge what you thought you knew. Did me the same way. You know, I used to think they came in and flipped my world upside down, inside out. But all they did was took the blinders off. All they did was open my mind. I was sleepwalking, dreaming with my eyes closed. The only difference is I'm dreaming with my eyes open now. I understand what I am doing, what is happening, and that I have a choice. Mm. I understand that all the answers that I searched for, that my soul longed for, was always within me, never outside of me. I finally reached rock bottom, and I was so tired. I had absorbed so much pain that didn't even belong to me. I wore it like a shirt. My body had broke down. It wasn't breaking down. My body was already deteriorating. My nervous system was shot. Self-medicating wasn't helping anymore. And that's when I entered into the dark night of the soul. Y'all see him? Look at the little elf man. Yeah. And in that dark night of the soul, I had a dark attachment. And I tell you, it wore me down. Try to take me out. But I was still in there, buried under the pain, under the humiliation, under the confusion, under the despair. And I began to cry out from that place. And that dark attachment left. It can only stay when we don't reach, when we don't seek, when we don't ask for help. And you got to come wholeheartedly. I say this because I know there are many people that is seeking and wanting, desiring, but they don't understand they are the key. You are the key that opens that door that is within your heart. You are the key. And the key is to be wholeheartedly. You got to come with your whole heart. It's not about understanding, because I didn't understand nothing. Little did I know my whole world was about to be rocked. My whole foundation was crumbling. Consistency, dedication. This is all I cared about. I needed something. I needed something I could feel, something I could see, something that would come to me. Because this was all an illusion. This world, the system, the programming. I never fit in from the beginning, you guys. I had complications. from the start. I walk into the room. I don't know if y'all can see that ET at the top, but there's an ET there. I walked into the room and I felt every energy in there. While everybody else was in their own little head and planning what they're going to do later, I had become overwhelmed by the energies that surrounded me. For years, I journeyed through this world thinking I was the only one who had a pure heart. So I didn't know I had family out here, spiritual family, excuse me. We were just buried. We were shattered and scattered. But let me get to this visitation. They begin to come in, and it really flipped me because I didn't know about this. I've seen spirits, but nothing to this extent. And I remember saying they are energetic, vibrational beings. I didn't understand the consciousness at that point. I didn't understand. I knew they were telepathic, but they are also conscious beings. They come from the cosmos. We hear a word and we can over abuse it. That interdimensional stuff, you guys, let's put it to rest. Because that's overplayed. Like, that's everybody's saying it now. First it was light beings, now it's interdimensional. These are conscious beings that come from the galaxy, the cosmos, period. People want to understand it so bad. And I was in the same boat, but at this point, guess what? I'm over that. I remember one point it began to die down and I about lost it because I knew this is like, this is a miracle. You guys, I didn't understand that they were helping me because it was the energy. It was this new frequency in my energy field at play. And I didn't understand it. I didn't understand they were connected to that. I didn't understand the lights coming into my room. I didn't understand none of it. And by the time I did, it started to die down. And I thought I fumbled the ball. See, I had old limiting beliefs I had to work through. I had to let go of. I had to open my mind and begin to fill with my heart because the heart was closed off to even trying to understand it. Logically, this we want logical answers for only something the heart can process. Everything I know today came from my experiences. I started seeing things, you guys, in visions and dreams that felt very ancient. And there was a familiarness there. And I didn't understand that until I began to realize they were trying to help me remember. My soul is old. You may have been here many a times before. There are new souls here, and there are very old, ancient souls. And you may say, Divine, how do I know if I'm ancient? Oh, you're going to know. Because as you go through your spiritual awakening, you will begin to have dreams, maybe flashback, deja vu moments where you see something, you're standing somewhere, and you have a flashback of a place that no longer exists, but it did a long time ago where you're standing. You may have dreams that put you in places that history, and you're like, okay, I've never studied this. Why am what is this? You may be visited by I call them ancient ascended masters. They once walked this earth. They're not reincarnating. They have become ancient ascended masters, excuse me. There are many, many signs. However, all I can do is just share my experience, you guys, and let that be the guiding light. Because everybody's journey is different. One thing I learned: do not force. They told me that over and over again. Stop it. No one could force, my awakening, nor could they force me to come to terms to where I'm at now. You know, you're not going to jump from A to Z. It's a journey. Dreams, when we go to sleep, we all grew up thinking, that's dream time. We dream during that time, right? That's when the spirit travels. That's why sometimes you wake up and, you've been everywhere and you feel so exhausted, or you wake up, you feel accomplished. You might have been in a different dimension fighting a galactic war. You may have been on, a different planet. What you may have been traveling in your subconscious mind. That is where I'm at. Actually, I'm going through the resurrection now. The rebirth. Now, I did have a rebirth in the beginning. You'll be amazed how many rebirths you go through. And each level is deeper. You're going inwards. Journey back home. The journey back to self, back to source, where you came from. It's like the outer you is traveling back into the inner you, where your soul resides, where your spirit exists. I have had many, many, many spirit guides come of all sorts. Star beings, light beings, which you would probably call aliens, just all different kinds. Solar deities. All the gods and goddesses we were told, not to acknowledge. And thankfully, I knew nothing about them, so I didn't have a prejudiced mindset. I was able to receive. And what I mean by receive, their guidance, their energy. The only time I experienced something dark and negative is when I was stuck. I didn't want to move forward. I allowed fear to consume me. And what was in my energy field began to change. It's like I started attracting the darker ones, the ones that vibrate on a lower frequency. And as soon as I came back into the light, anchoring myself back into that unconditional love, I mean, instantly, y'all, it shifted instantly. There was no need to walk the property or the house and bind and rebuke. You are the key. Let's get to this dream. Now, I had this dream a couple nights ago. I'm going to say a vision. I'm not going to call it a dream. I was looking out a window, and I do remote view. So I could have been seeing, what's coming in, what's going to be happening in the near future. Because it's so strange. About 2 days later, so I had a dream about 3 days ago, 3 or 4. And like 2 days ago, I see those clouds that I saw in that vision. And it just kind of like deja vu. There was definitely a message in the dream. So I wake up in this room. The room was probably about a 20 by 22. The center of it, there was like a L shape um, sleeping sofas, like converted to a couch to like a double bed or something in that nature. I think there was even like some bunk beds there. But like I said, during the day, it kind of converted into like, a sitting area. It was me and a group of other women, different ages. I think the youngest might have been 15. The oldest, I'm not quite sure. I can't remember. I just know we were different ages. To the left of the room, there was a small kitchenette area for us to cook. And on the left side where the kitchenette was at, on that wall, I remember seeing this long rectangular window. So when I remote view, when I'm looking into the future, the past, or the present, there's always a window that I'm looking out of. To the right of the room, up against the right side, there was the entertainment area, which consists of a television and I believe like maybe some VCR, DVDs, and a stereo, small stereo. And that was it. No doors, no other windows. I just wake up there. And I was having this outer body experience where that's how I know I was remote viewing. I was in the body, but I was outside my body. So I was able to kind of like see what was going on, but I was also feeling it at the same time. I'm not sure how many days this lasted or how many nights. There was no light either. The natural light came from the window. That's the only. So once that sun set, it became dark in the room. I remember the first few days waking up feeling extremely drowsy, not understanding what was happening, and within seconds, if not moments, going back to sleep. Not getting up to eat, not getting up to use the restroom, none of that, just falling back to sleep. And this would happen for several days, several nights. And then I'd say, if I had a guess, maybe 4 or 5 nights. And then I remember waking up and feeling different, feeling alert, and everybody else feeling the same way. And we were still confused, however. We were all looking around, trying to figure out we were strangers in a room. How do we get there? What is this place? Who are you? You know, at some point, some of us got kind of like got up and started to make something to eat. We had been out of it for a few days, so everybody had a big appetite. So I'm in the kitchen with two other, women, and we're preparing a meal. And I remember this one girl, she stood out. She was loud. Some would say she was the popular one, but she was like trying to be the leader, but she really wasn't a leader. Okay. She didn't know what was best for her or the group, but I think a lot of girls were intimidated by her. She had that take charge attitude, and nobody else was stepping up, but she really didn't give anybody else a chance to step up. I didn't feel like anybody should be the leader. I feel like, we should just put our heads together. But as I'm cooking, I can hear her in there kind of like dominating the energy. And so she convinced the rest of the ladies to stay up. You know, once it got dark, make as much as noise as possible, just be loud and see what happens. Night fell. I think it was like four of us, including myself. We were exhausted. We were trying to sleep. The rest of the girls were making a bunch of noise. And that went on for a couple nights, and it just got very irritating. The third day, me and the other two women are preparing a meal, and I hear this buzzing, clicking, it just sounds really strange, like a buzzing sound with a click to it near the window. So I turn to look out because I'm standing by the window sideways, and there's this thick white cloud. And in the center of it, I see a gold light. Barely, but I could see it. I turned back to the stove, and I remember out of the corner of my eye seeing this really light pink light pop in. And when I turned back to look at it, I saw it. I seen what was inside the cloud, which looked like it reminded me of a blimp. Those things that float in the sky and it's pulling a sign or whatever. And I'm not sure of the word for it, pillars or what. It was like these little spinners on the back of it. Like, it was like two on each side. It was very strange looking. And it had gold lights on it and this really light pink, glowy light in the center. I thought it was moving with the cloud at first, but then it started to kind of like come out and it was moving sideways. So the cloud was moving straight and it was moving sideways towards the window. Of course, I panicked. My heart started racing. And it didn't come all the way over, but it got close enough to where I could see it. It wasn't even just about seeing it, you guys. I felt it. I could feel this thing. I felt it all in my core. And so once we had dinner, the ladies saw that I was, looking very uncomfortable. And they asked me what was wrong. And I told them what I saw. So the one that thought she was in charge, she really set off a panic with the rest of the ladies and started hollering. I knew it. It was a UFO. These are aliens. And I thought to myself, well, there goes our sleep for tonight. One of the ladies that was with me jumps up and runs to the back wall. And she turns around and she has her hand behind her and she says, I found a door. That door was not there before. There was a door there and a doorknob. And she turned it and opened the door, which led to a second room. The back wall had another rectangular long window. And then in the center, it was an L shape, sofa beds like the first room. But this one only slept four. So it was like perfect for us. And of course, me and the group of ladies that was with me, we all went into that room. Of course, the other girl, she peeked her head in, but there was nothing there to capture her curiosity, or we had no TV, no stereo. And she says, oh, fine, you guys can have it. We'll stay in here. And that night, we went to sleep. I was awakened at some point in the middle of the night. I heard the clicking sound again and the buzzing. It almost sounded like an insect. It was so dark in the room, I couldn't see them. What I saw were red, what I thought was orbs, red, like two red orbs floating around the room. One came up towards me, and I realized it was eyes that I was looking at. Scared me to my core. I could not see them that well. So I tried to play it off, close my eyes, pretend that I was asleep. And right before the sun came up, as they were leaving, I opened my eyes again because they were standing over the girls that was in the room with me, doing things. I saw them. Now I would say those were mantis, alien mantis, but I'm not quite sure. They had a V-shaped head, red glowy eyes, tall and skinny. They favor the mantis, but I'm not sure if that's what they were. And they were heading out the room. And I close my eyes again. As I'm dozing off, I hear a voice. And this voice says to me, "You have to be asleep in order for us to help you. We only want to help you. We're not here to harm you, but you must be asleep." I wake up to this chattery energy, like the room was full of, this joyful energy and conversations. These ladies normally would be quiet. And so I sat up and what's going on? And they began to tell me how they felt and how they all felt so much better. One of them had a heart condition, another one had epilepsy. There was another one that had cancer. Now, they didn't share this early on. This is being discussed now. And the one with the heart condition, she kept holding her chest plate right underneath her chin. And she said, "I can feel something here, but I feel amazing." So I didn't tell the ladies at that moment what I saw. I waited until later that night. And of course, they were very alarmed by the news. So alarmed that the other women were listening in by the door and they heard. And so there's this commotion now. They're frantic. The ladies that got healed by the aliens try to calm them down and let them know that they're harmless. They're here to help us. But the leader, she didn't want to hear it. She did not want to hear it. She was very upset. So we ended up going to sleep, and the next day came, and we go out there to make something to eat. And she's like really determined to leave. And she's looking for anything, any way to get out. When all of a sudden, not the rest of the ladies, I see this like laser light. It looked like a gold laser light on the back wall, going up the wall, and it's like the shape, like a door was being cut out. And as soon as the light disappears, there's a door. And I point to the door, and everybody looks. And the leader girl, she jumps up and she grabs that door. I told her to wait a minute, but she grabbed it anyways. And she opened the door, and we were floating several feet up above, the ground. Not too high. I would say maybe about like a second story window. And from where she was standing, I remember her saying, "There's the grass. We can jump. We can, jump onto the grass, land on the grass." So there were two other girls. They were like her peons that got up because she wasn't going by herself. And I'm trying to tell them, just wait a minute, let's think this thing out. Like, you don't know what's down there. Like, she was like, home is down there. She was just determined, you guys. So one by one, out they go. As soon as the third one jumps out that door, the door just, I don't even remember it closing. It just disappeared. Like there was never a door to begin with. Nobody else in that room wanted to go out that door. And I believe that's why that door disappeared. It opened long enough to let the ones out because they were not holding us against our will. I ran to the window near the kitchen head, but I couldn't see. I couldn't see anything. All I saw were clouds, the sky. I remember closing my eyes for a brief moment, and when I did that, that's when I could see. And what I saw was them landing onto what they thought was green grass, but this was not grass. As a matter of fact, where they landed was not planet Earth. It was another different planet. It reminded me of something you would see off of a cartoon or an anime or something. Fantasy. It didn't look real. And I remember the leader, the girl that called herself in charge, she began crying out loud and yelling up at this place, this room, this floating box that we were in, that she wanted to come back. Let me back in. We couldn't hear her. I was there in spirit. I was remote viewing. The other two girls saw a cave up ahead and said they needed to take shelter because they were exposed. And that's when one of the girls in the room shook me. I just remember hearing, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I snapped out of that vision. And I said, "Yes." I said, "Follow me. We need to talk, you guys." And I went to the main room. We all sat down, and I began to explain to them what this was and why they were doing it. After I explained that they wanted to heal us, that's when everybody in the room took turns, basically stating what was wrong with them, what kind of condition they had. Right before I woke up from this vision slash dream, my last words was this: they cannot heal you if you are not asleep. To be awake is like resisting them. And then I wake up. Whew, when I tell you, honey. Now, I don't know about you, but and for those who have been following me from the beginning, y'all remember when I was having all those ET encounters back to back to back, I was terrified to go to sleep. Even my sons, because they heard them. We all heard them in the house. We would stay up until the sun came up. Mm. If you haven't watched that video, make sure y'all check out the other videos, especially the ones where I have these dreams, visions. It's been a couple months. I think I had this dream last month where my sister, it was a very short dream. Um, First, my son runs into the house and he's like, "They're back, they're back." And I'm like, "Who's back?" And he's like, "The aliens." And so my sister jumps up, my deceased sister. Anytime my deceased sister pops into a dream, there's always a message she wants me to pay attention to. She runs to the window. She's looking out the window. I'm sitting on the couch, and right above my head is like a sunroof window, one of those ceiling windows. And next thing I know, I see something like something metal move over it with a red light. And when I bring my head back down, she's sitting back across from me like she was before she jumped up. And I thought that was kind of strange. And I'm looking at her, and all of a sudden I see this laser. It was like a red laser light on her head. And I'm like, "Don't move." And her eyes roll in the back of her head for like a minute or two. And then she started shaking. And like when she was snap out of it, she says this: "The aliens are back." Now that dream vision I had, I want to say about like a month ago. I believe it was in the month of May, or it was because she came 3 times in the month of May. Oh my. I am so sorry for that. That was a motorcycle going by, but and then the first week of June. So it could have been earlier this month, June. I would have to check my dream book. But yeah, I mean, I thought about that, you guys, and I was like, okay. I was just, it wasn't even like, it was a warning, but I don't know. It was weird. It was weird. The dream was weird with her when she was like, "The aliens are back." I did feel frantic. I did have a little panic in me. And for the next few days, I was kind of like, real iffy in the house at night. But then for me to have this dream a couple nights ago, and what I really appreciate is just the message. We're not trying to harm you. We're trying to heal you. We want to help you. And you're not the only one that we're healing. You are resisting your healing by avoiding sleep. And it's so weird because I remember like when they used to come around, when I was experiencing like a lot of them back in 2022, 2023, I could be wide awake and then just out of nowhere, it's almost like a breeze would come into the room that had a chemical in it. And I would feel heavily sedated. Like I literally just took something. It was just, oh my gosh. And those nights I couldn't fight sleep. And sometimes I did remember like if something were to had happened, but it would be very sketchy. But there was a lot of nights that it happened that I didn't remember. And the only thing I would know something happened because I would wake up and my chest my lungs would be so tight, like I didn't get much oxygen, you know, and or I would be inflamed, like just cortisol levels extremely high, swollen, just holding a lot of fluid. And so I remember kind of like putting that together, like something's happening. They can sedate you. You'd be surprised. And it's just, because I refuse to go to sleep. I refuse. But the message in that dream, we can't help you if you're not asleep, you know? And so it's like, if you're, wanting this healing, you want this, you know, when I tell you some of these beings, extraterrestrial aliens, are highly advanced, you guys.
But to
Like,
be
our
in your
technology is a
center
joke compared to
is
theirs,
to be
you know?
anchored.
They
It is
have,
to
I mean, it's
be
it's not even their
present.
equipment, it's their intelligence. Like, I believe some of them can heal. Now, I skipped a piece. The young girl that, well, I did say how she's holding her chest, but I remember it looked like he was inserting like this small, and I can't remember the shape, the exact name. I can't think of the name of the shape, but this little metal disc. I thought he slid that into her chest. Like, I could have sworn they were inserting things, but it was to help them. You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like that was just so cool how, earlier, I believe it was the first week of June when I had that dream with my sister and her saying the aliens were back. And I had the dream, I think, what, the 17th or the 18th? It's like the 22nd. So what would that be, like 2 weeks later? I thought that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. And yes, there's been some activities again, with the lights, and we'll charge the flashlight and step outside, and 10 seconds later, the battery's dead, things like that. And, those are all kind of like, I know some people say, oh, well, that's something draining your battery. That's something evil. Not always. Not always. When you're dealing with aliens, UFOs, that can affect the power, the things that are battery charged, electricity, um, you know, things in that nature. Like a couple nights, all of my cameras were down. I was, I'm not gonna lie, I was very uncomfortable. I ain't gonna say I was freaking out, but I was very uncomfortable. Now, what we're looking at, I have seen aliens in the bushes and in the trees. You know, I don't know if I would just, now this is a 4K camera, you guys. If I would need like a better camera, but here's the thing, there's so many different types of aliens. You would be amazed. And they can sit back in that bush, that tree, and all you see is their glowing light, their glowing eyes. That's it. And then you think you're looking at a spirit or some sort of celestial. But if you see the darker shapes, and it's like, it's clearly a head, and then you see two glowing eyes, those are the ETs, y'all. Those are the ETs. I guarantee it. Then you have the supernatural beings that are like it's a different type of spirit, and they can manifest from the tree, from branches. Like, oh my goodness. Then you have the creatures, the supernatural creatures that they they almost look like they're part of the tree. They blend. Here's a close up. Take your time looking at it. Y'all, I'm trying to tell you, it is so trippy. I didn't see Fraggle Rocks, okay? Listen, when I tell you, Fraggle Rocks, elves, gnomes, fairies, like, whoo, it's a lot. It's a lot. But listen, you guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. And if you made it this far, first and foremost, I want to say thank you. If you could just take just a moment out of your time and hit that like button, I would appreciate you so much. And if you haven't subscribed, even if you can't see what I'm showing you, but maybe it was something I said that resonated with you, or just, kind of pulled at you a little bit, let that be the reason. Also, in the comments, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I do try to read all my comments. So, until the next video, we're going to rock out with a little bit of music. And I'll let you guys look at some more pictures. I'll see you in the next video. Peace and love.